It's sort of funny because in the last video I made, which I managed to get out a day before the May 7th Apple event, I said that any iPads Apple announced during the event would not interest me because I predominantly use my iPad for entertainment, and I see no reason to upgrade for more powerful hardware. Yet here I am having just placed an order for the M4 iPad Pro. I currently own a 2020 iPad Air, which is the generation that released prior to the M chip generation of iPads. I also own an iPhone and a MacBook Air and an Apple Watch and multiple Apple TVs and HomePods. And, out of all that Apple hardware, my iPad is by far the most used device, primarily for entertainment. This includes things like watching Netflix, YouTube, Crunchyroll, Apple TV, various sports programs, periodically playing games, listening to Apple Music, maybe even audiobooks on Libby. So a lot of entertainment. In addition to entertainment, though, I do use my iPad for productivity, such as email, calendar, reminders, notes, as well as project collaboration applications like Monday.com. I also use my iPad for reading, not generally novels or books, but academic and news articles. Rarely in the 4 years I have owned my 2020 iPad Air have I thought, I could benefit from a newer and more powerful chip. Hence why my immediate impression of an Apple event showcasing new iPads this year was, this isn't for me. However, there's more to an iPad, or really any computer-like device for that matter, than just the chip, just power. There are other elements that impact usage. And those elements, one in particular, was what convinced me to upgrade. My 2020 iPad Air has a 10.9-inch liquid retina display, which is Apple's fancy way of saying the pixel density on the display is high enough for individual pixels to not be discernible. Incidentally, that pixel density is 264 pixels per inch, or PPI. The new M4 iPad Pros, meanwhile, have an Ultra Retina XDR display, which has the same pixel density as the Liquid Retina display. However, unlike my 2020 iPad Air, which uses LEDs to backlight the display, the M4 iPad Pros use OLED, which is a more advanced display technology that produces noticeable improvements. In addition, the M4 iPad Pros with their new tandem OLED technology have a max screen brightness of double my 2020 iPad Air, as well as support ProMotion, which is another Apple marketing term, this time related to screen refresh. So unlike my 2020 iPad Air, which has a 60 hertz refresh rate, meaning it can display up to 60 frames per second, the M4 iPad Pros with ProMotion have a 120 hertz refresh rate. All of this equates to a massive leap in display quality from a 2020 iPad Air to an M4 iPad Pro. For watching content like Netflix or Crunchyroll, this means better viewing experiences, obviously. And seeing as I predominantly use my iPad as a sort of portable television, having a vastly superior display is of particular interest, and it took Apple's event this month to remind me of that. In addition to the better display, the M4 chip does interest me. Have you noticed how many console quality games have been launching on the App Store lately? Because, I've taken notice to it. And currently my 2020 iPad Air, which does not have an M chip, cannot play a lot of those games that are releasing. And those it can play, it does struggle a bit. There used to be a time where I was all in with console gaming, whether it was PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. It didn't really matter. Console was simply my platform of choice when it came to gaming. I remember getting home from work or school or wherever I was getting home from and, immediately feeling this itch to continue whatever game I was currently engaged with. In those days, I was completing several gaming titles a month and was constantly on the lookout for, the next big game that I wanted to play. But those days are largely behind me. Today, I'm lucky if I can finish a game or two a year, which is pretty sad, honestly. Thus I can no longer justify owning a console, which is why a lot of the games I play now are simply on Mac or iPad. And with the growing list of console quality games coming to those platforms, it's actually viable to have them as your primary gaming platform, assuming it has the games that you want to play. All of this is to say, having a more powerful iPad that is capable of playing those big titles on the App Store is tempting. Or I guess I should say it was tempting since I already placed the order for the M4 iPad Pro, which should be arriving in a day or two. I opted for the base model 256 gig in space black. I also ordered the Apple Folio case in denim, similar to what I have today for my iPad Air. I was tempted by the nano textured display as I prefer matte to glossy in most situations, but in order to have it as an option, you need to, at minimum, get the M4 iPad Pro with 1 terabyte of storage, and then pay more on top of that for the nano textured display, which ends up being nearly twice the price of the base model. Given my use cases, I didn't really think that significantly higher price for the upgrade was justified. I may end up just putting a paper-like screen protector on it, which sort of produces the same matte effect. Something to consider. But that's it for this video. Maybe in the next one, I will be playing a game on my M4 iPad Pro, so stay tuned for that. See you later.